Today I'm going to be going from a total noob at welding who I just can't seem to do a decent bead to save my life to hopefully a pretty decent and competent looking weld with a decent bead, even on a cheap Harbor Freight flux core welder that we have here. And this is all thanks to my buddy Jeff. Hi Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us. This is Jeff's space. We're at his place and he's going to help us get this all figured out. This is Jeff Bonner with MechMaster channel. You may have seen his stuff before. And let's start out with how do we actually get started and make sure we have everything that we need. I'm just looking at the wire feed setting here and I don't know what, like if that's what it was on last time I was using it, I don't even know how to use these. So this is going to be interesting. All right, let's learn. Let's jump in.
I'd say that's the best way to learn is just to throw down a weld, see how it turned out, and then learn from that.
Okay, sounds good. Can I use one of your long sleeved, you know, setups here?
Hold on a second, Neil.
Right, yeah, don't do it yet.
Yeah.
I feel like a little kid wearing this jacket and the gloves. I'm like, look at me, I'm dressed up like a grown-up.
You put on your
I know,
helmet,
right? Yeah.
good.
Let's go play in the snow. So what are we starting with?
First, let's hook the ground up, and these are actually some welding coupons, so they're a lot cleaner and nicer. But when you get a brand new machine, any piece of metal, you just throw down a weld just to see what it's like.
Okay. Another question I had for the setup with the table, is there current running through the table? Do I need to be careful of the table itself?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Don't lick it and weld you're talking at the same time. No.
Okay.
The thing with welding is, yes, you're creating a current path. You're creating that loop. That's what welding is. But welders, what they do is they transform or invert. It cranks up those amps and lowers the voltage.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
So you actually have very low voltage running through this.
Yep.
So just the resistance in your fingers and in your hands, your skin, will not shock you.
Now, in my professional opinion, my flow should be at 3 because that's the number I guessed. So, does this use batteries?
No, that is actually a solar helmet.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, so there's a panel there.
Solar, just like your calculator in
Okay, there you go. Nice. I won't tell you all the things I tried to spell on my calculator. Delay time fast. Okay, so.
I'll step back just a little bit.
What, you're afraid I'm gonna spatter all over you? Now, I do remember this. I think I need to cut this end a little bit shorter, right? Because I've got an inch of it sticking out. Don't know exactly how short to cut it, but I'm gonna try right about there. Okay. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Just going for a line?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just making fun of you. The machine's not on yet.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not gonna get far without turning it on. I'm on min, which I think for just doing a bead on top, I'm assuming is gonna be okay. Okay, I can already see that that's, you know, not the best. So
all the better to be able to improve on.
Yeah, that's true.
All I'd say.
That's true. All right, so can I tell you what I think I'm seeing here? I think I need to work on my speed, I'm guessing, to help it pull up a little bit. Like I've got a whole spot here where it's just kind of missing. And then obviously I can't draw a straight line to save my life here. And it feels like it's almost like I'm being guided by the feed rather than being in control. But there's a lot of spatter here too. Tell me what you're seeing.
First off, spatter is not an issue.
Okay.
Guarantee you're gonna get that with flux core. That is one of the benefits about upping to MIG is there's very little spatter.
Okay.
You nailed it with speed. That is a little too fast. You know, inconsistency, that comes with, like, I guess, swerviness.
Yeah.
Or you're not straight line. That would come, I would say, mostly because you were standing up trying to go, and so you didn't really have a good stabilized arm or fixture to be able to make a straight line.
Okay.
But the biggest thing too, I see, this is a teeny weld. We'll get some close-ups of that weld. But the biggest thing would be actually those settings.
Okay. So walk me through this. I don't even know. Basically, I've got min, max, and feed rate, right? Wire feed speed.
Yep.
That's all I've got to work with. So how do I know what to do when?
So the greatest thing about every welder I've had, except for some really cheap, crazy Chinese ones, they all come with suggested settings.
Oh, okay.
And if
that's in here, isn't it?
Yep.
I think I've seen those. I ignore them because I'm a guy, but yeah. All right, so this up here, we've got our 90 amp flux wire welder, material being welded, wire type. Okay, steel thickness, recommended volt or amp setting. So ideally you're gonna know what kind of, or what gauge of steel you have. If not, you can probably use calipers and go off the inches, right?
Yep.
Okay, do you know what this is?
1/8 inch.
1/8 inch, 0.125, 36, oh, it says right in here, 1/8 inch is one of them. So then it says I do need to be on max, and then recommended wire speed of 8, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you remember at the very first, 1/8 inch was almost maxing out a 110 volt machine.
Yep.
And so your settings being down at min and down at 4, settings just way too low.
Okay, so if I go to 8 and max.
Slow it down.
Okay.
And then you were standing up, so I would actually stay seated.
Okay.
And then try to use your arms kind of as a guide.
Okay.
How you're going.
Yep.
And then I'll give you some more tips after that.
Okay, here we go. That's better. I still can't make a straight line, but
believe it or not, that actually is a lot better.
After I created this video, I realized there's a lot that we're covering here. So I created this guide for flex core welding. It's got everything that we cover in this video, and it would be a great resource to put up next to your welder or on your welding cart so that you would have all of the steps that we cover here today so that you can get excellent welds even if you're new at this. You can check this out using the links in the description below, or you can even buy it right from the little shopping cart icon in the bottom corner of the screen. Now, back to our tips.
yeah.
This, as you could tell, much better than the first one just by changing the settings alone.
I feel better, yeah.
And there still are a couple other things. The spatter, I know that's kind of a big thing, like, oh my goodness, like, what's with all this stuff? That's actually totally normal with flex core.
Okay.
You get that if you make the step up to MIG welding, that actually takes a majority of the spatter away. Flex core, totally normal. We're not gonna clean this one up yet just because I'll give Nils just a couple more tips. We'll do another one, and I think you'll be just about there.
Okay.
One thing that you may or may not have noticed is I wanted to ask, how well were you actually able to see that weld?
So while I was welding, I was thinking to myself, like, what should I be seeing here? I didn't know what I'm supposed to be looking at, so I saw basically a glow at the end where it made contact, and that's it. I don't know, like, what do I need to be looking for?
First off, you'll want to be looking at the weld puddle.
Okay.
Not the weld, but the weld puddle, and I say that because it actually is still a molten piece of metal.
Yeah.
It's a puddle. You look at that right before it solidifies, and that kind of gives you a good indication on a couple things, on how fast you're going, because if it's smaller like this, I'll tell you right now, this is too small.
Okay.
If it's small like this, you'll know, hey, I got to slow down a little bit.
Okay.
If it's starting to get too deep into the parent material and starting to burn through, well, that's an issue. You know that you're probably either going too slow and it's just sitting there and just burning through, or your settings are too high too.
Okay.
So if you're starting to burn through, then you want to turn down the settings and or go faster.
Okay.
I would say the settings are actually probably pretty good where they're at, which are the suggested settings.
That's right, we follow the instructions, right?
Typically does or does not happen right off the bat.
Right.
But I would keep the settings and I would just say to move a little slower.
Okay, I can do that. It felt like I was going slow, so I need to go even slower.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
What settings are your hood at?
What is this? This is, I've got 9 through 13 of something.
Of something.
Yeah.
Of what? Welding hoods or masks, they go off of what's called a shade rating. It's how dark the shade is.
Oh, okay.
So just as you can imagine, higher the number, a darker the shade. So why would that matter? Hey, we're welding, who cares? Well, with settings really low, you're not putting that much amperage or that much heat into it, so you don't get that bright of a light. On the other end, if you're running a huge old industrial machine running 200 amps, that sucker is gonna be super bright and you gotta have a darker shade. So you had yours.
Mine's all the way up.
Now, I actually noticed that when you first walked in
Oh,
here.
did you?
I pulled out your hood and I saw that it was all the way cranked to 13, and I didn't tell him.
Okay,
I knew this was going to be a good learning moment.
So the funny thing about this, I don't remember ever setting it to this. Like I say, I've probably had this helmet for like 5 years, and I've never looked at this either.
Probably like the settings, how
Yeah.
you're like, oh, is it 3? It's on.
Yeah, it's putting out stuff. Start darker.
With a darker setting.
That makes sense.
And if you can't see, obviously, then just stop, turn it down a little bit, and then keep going.
Yep.
So I would say probably start with a 10, 11, maybe go
Okay.
with the 10.5. And by all means, if you start up that arc and it's like too bright, save your eyes. Stop immediately, go down another notch or up, vice versa, whatever way you're looking at it, and go with that. So I think that's a huge part to actually being able to see the puddle, to actually see what you're welding.
Okay. Learning to weld is awesome, no doubt about it. I thought I'd take this to the next level and see if I could weld with 2 welders at the same time, and I'm gonna do this all off battery power. So down below me here, this is the Anker Solix F3800 power station, and this guy, I've got my lights plugged into it and both welders. Let's see if we can weld with 2 at the same time, and I'm sure my quality's bad enough that it probably won't make any difference. Here we go. Okay. That's pretty impressive that it can handle all of that all at the same time. I've been looking for a whole home power backup system for years now, but I just can't justify the expense of getting this huge wall of batteries and then dealing with the fact that it's only available at home. Nothing portable about it, I can't use it for other purposes. We actually get offers pretty much every day for these little power banks from one company or another, or a larger battery, or even these portable power stations, but they're from brands I don't trust and I don't know. So when Anker, a brand that I know and trust, reached out about this guy, this is the Anker Solix F3800, I thought I'll definitely be willing to at least give this one a try and see what I think. This portable power station provides 3.8 kilowatts of battery power, and it's linkable up to 53.8 kilowatts. Now that's a lot of juice. This thing can also output 6,000 to 12,000 watts AC, and it can do that in either 120 volts or 240 volts. Because this thing is portable, you can actually link multiple power stations together, or you can add batteries to these, and that makes it so that you can use just one all by itself. That's what I'm using right now, or you can link a bunch of these together and harness all of that power linked together. This portable unit is the perfect combination of massive power for your home, but with the portability to take it wherever you need it. RV camping, working outside, or when you just need some extra power to get some things done, the Anker Solix F3800, it can handle it. This unit charges quickly and easily with 120 volts AC plugged right into your home outlets, or you can use solar panels to charge this thing completely off-grid. Another cool feature, you can actually plug your EV directly into this unit and charge it up with nothing else involved. That's pretty cool. Right now, you can join their Kickstarter to get up to 45% off the Anker Solix F3800 and be one of the first to get your hands on these. Links are in the description below, and a big thank you to Anker for sponsoring today's video.
This is going to be a little fun point. It might be a controversy. I've put out a couple videos about this. Do not use this. It came with your machine.
At all?
Don't use it at all.
Okay.
No, without going into too much detail, let me tell you why. This is what you would consider a MIG nozzle. MIG, as you remember, you have gas. The gas comes through the gun, out through there, and it's a nozzle, so it directs that gas. You want the gas to go over.
That's like creating the flow of the gas around whatever is coming out.
Yep.
Okay.
Because you have to have that gas to protect the weld. Well, guess what? You know, this is inner shielded or flux core. We don't have gas, so you don't need this. Now what this does, right off the bat, you could probably, you're like, holy cow, I didn't even know what the end of that tip looked like.
I didn't. And I imagine using it like this, I feel like, oh, I can see the whole thing now. So, yeah.
And that's what you want to do when you're first learning. You want to actually be able to see the tip, the end. I'll bring up a whole nother point right here. Stick out. This is a term called that you're used when it's the amount of wire sticking out.
Okay.
Imagine that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sticking out from your contact tip. You want that to be about 1/2 inch.
Okay.
To see that 1/2 inch, you got to actually be able to see, you know, the end of the tip, where you're going.
Yep. So a little shorter than what we have here right now, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little shorter. You can pick up, which I think I have somewhere. Hold on. It's a flux core nozzle. It's actually what they're called, flux core nozzle. So you thread this on, but look, I mean, there's no protection over the tip. There's the only thing this is doing is protecting this part of your MIG gun if you were to have a MIG machine, which would have holes around here. This is a true flux core machine, so there's no holes for that gas to come through. And this machine's not.
So I don't need either.
No.
I can just use it like this.
You can just use it like that. Don't even buy these. For you, I did notice that your angle was off a little bit.
Okay.
So there is a correct angle. You have a weld angle and a workpiece angle. If you are doing on a flat plate, you're going to want to go straight down at a 90. You got a 90, and then clock it back 10 to 15. Okay. And you're actually going to want to drag. Whether you knew this or not, you dragged. Whether you care or not, MIG welding, you can push or drag. Flux core, if they're slag, then drag. If they're slag, then drag. And slag is? Slag is this coating that you get over. It's what the flux makes. Okay. You'll notice that slag with stick welding. Okay. That stuff that just peels off or chips off. Oh yeah, I've seen that. You did really good. I would just say your angle is probably clocked a little too much. Okay. So I would probably go straight down and just clock it a little bit, so it will feel like you're probably going straight down. Now that will change, obviously, if you have a T-joint and doing a fillet weld, because you're gonna go in, you're not gonna go in at a 90 at either one, you're gonna go right in at a 45, but you're gonna still clock it back 10 or 15 and drag it back. Okay, that makes sense. So I would say If you could remember all of that,
I'll try.
let's do another one.
Okay.
And see how this weld turns out.
Okay, last question on this. This is sticking out like maybe 3/4 of an inch now. Should I clip it to start? Is that better, or just start it and then push it down to 1/2 inch?
I would definitely say when you're starting out, clip it.
Clip it, okay.
We got a pair of WELPERS.
WELPERS, I did not know that term.
Welding pliers.
WELPERS,
Or
I
welding
like that.
pliers.
Okay.
So let me tell you a little trick about that. You actually did good. You probably guessed right on. But if you noticed, these are kind of
they're offset to
offset.
Yeah.
So if you put the tip flush with
rest it on there.
Right on there.
Yep.
Then that's typically a perfect.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Stick
So a little built-in measurement there.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so I'm slowing down, get my angle to 90 and then pull back 10 or 15. I've got no nozzle on here now, so I can see what I'm doing. I'm dragging and watching the puddle to make sure I have a nice puddle forming, and that's gonna help me determine speed, right? Still seated, my settings are correct now. I think that's it. And 1/2 inch consistently as I go.
Do you want me to throw out 2 other things for you?
Sure, okay. See how much I can retain.
Not to pile it on, we're gonna have like a whole list of...
Oh boy, what's he got? He's got toys over here.
All right, I've done a video about these a couple times, and it's a game changer when you're just starting out welding flux core.
Okay.
You're gonna get spatter with flux core regardless.
Okay.
It's just inevitable. The one issue is when you're starting to weld a lot, that starts to build up on your contact tip. So it will start to build up right here.
Gotcha.
And at the very first, we actually had an issue with feeding. That was the very first thing I looked at, is that it wasn't built up. It's not too bad right now, but this can help it out. Okay. So what you do, this is called nozzle gel.
Okay. I can see you've used it before.
It's just a simple lubricant for the contact tip. This is all you have to do. It takes a really long time.
Oh, that was tough.
That's it.
Yeah, all right.
You do that every
Even
once
I could
in a
do
while.
that, yeah.
You do that every once in a while, and you'll still have spatter collect on it, but it just brushes right away.
Okay.
So you'll do that. Now, this being a lubricant, yes, you could dip it or put it on that, but we're not gonna do that because something to help it not collect on the workpiece, then you get spatter spray.
Okay, what is it? Heavy duty anti-spatter.
Anti-spatter spray. This is pretty much, you know, ham cooking spray. Okay. All it is, and I won't, since we already did it there, I'll just do a coat. All you do, spray it like that. Okay. And then you will still have spatter, but it will brush off really easily.
Okay, that's cool. So that's gonna keep your workpiece cleaner. It's gonna keep your weld to your weld, and all the spatter will hopefully be easier to remove, essentially.
Yes.
Now here's maybe this is a stupid question. Since I got everything I've got here from Harbor Freight, does Harbor Freight sell either of these?
Oh, I figured you were gonna ask. These are the 2 things which I've actually told and sent in because they have their little, hey, give us product suggestions.
Requests and stuff, yeah.
I said, you've got a whole welding lineup. Why not nozzle gel and anti-spatter spray? Haven't seen it yet. Pick it up on the Zon Gods. Okay. Amazon's got it. Welding supply stores have it too.
Okay, so we'll put links then in the description for these if they don't have it at Harbor Freight.
Now's as good a time as any. I pre-ordered some as a gift.
Oh, nice.
For you.
All right.
I knew you would want some.
I definitely will. Nozzle gel. This says nozzle gel for nils. That's nice. Yeah. That's what that says in these other languages. Nozzle gel for nils. Very nice. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Okay. That's better. I'm already seeing a couple things. Well, one, I'm noticing, wow, everything popped off, like the little spots and stuff.
Yeah, the spatter balls are...
You know, I feel like one thing I'm noticing is I'm seeing the little puddle lines. I don't know what you call those, like the layers almost. I haven't really been able to produce before very well. Okay, I still see a lot of work to be done here, but yeah, it's cool to see.
Considerably better than that, and even more so better than the first one. Right. So the only couple things that I see offhand, your angle looked perfect, pulling it back, dragging. Were you able to actually see it better too?
I saw the puddle because the nozzle wasn't in the way, but I still feel like I actually might need to go a little darker again because I felt like there was just kind of this circle of hot going on that I couldn't see the details of. So I might need to work on that.
So you can turn that down a bit?
Yep.
Now, actually, offhand, I thought that the settings were kind of right on, but it looks like this actually is, I would consider a cold weld. It's actually a little cold, meaning the settings are a little too low.
Okay.
And or you still might have gone a little
fast.
Too fast. I mean,
okay.
and I'm just talking about a little. This is the weld. If you look at the profile, it's pretty dang good for like you only welding like once or twice.
Right.
I mean, I would say that's right on.
But I can see where I'm totally inconsistent. Like it's really thin right there, and it's shallow here, and like I think at first it started out a little better at least.
Yeah.
But
and now that's a good point too. Down here below, you can see that's heaped up a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's because your material is cold too. So it actually wasn't able to get down into the material as quick, and then halfway through your material is all up to temperature. Then you were able to do that. But overall, I mean, that's a lot better. The only things I would suggest is I would probably turn
it up a bit.
Turn the settings up just a little bit.
Okay, we'll go to 9. Is there a certain thickness I'm looking for, width I'm looking for, anything like that, or is that just kind of depend on the situation and everything else?
Welding on a flat plate like this, there's not really height. There are weld gauges.
Okay.
That if you're in the industry, you have to have a certain height or size weld. We're not going to dive into that. This is all just practice. What you care about is if it's stuck and your two pieces are stuck together, it's a lot easier on a fillet weld.
Let's do some more welding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all she wrote.
Perfect. Ran out of wire.
Ran out of wire. Okay, so I really couldn't see the line, and so I'm wandering quite a bit, but I feel like that looks better, like as far as the shape and the consistency.
The only thing that I noticed as standing back, it did look like your stick out was probably a little too long.
Too long? Okay.
Yep, so you can just shorten that up a bit.
Shorten that up, okay. So we'll swap out the wire here. And I also forgot to pull back to lean until I was like an inch in, because again, it's like the 15 things in your head trying to compete for your mental capacity here.
But I would say half, 3/4 inch right there, and you get a perfect.
Okay.
You got a perfect bead, perfect weld.
Okay, sweet. Okay, I could see that one better that time. I could see the dimes behind it, like the puddle behind it and stuff. And I was trying to watch that, and it felt like I got a little fast at the end, but.
Little fast, which is okay because it does heat up more towards the end. Okay. The one thing I did notice, you were starting to get further and further away.
Was I? Okay, I was not looking at that. You're right.
To get a little further.
Okay, so I got to be paying attention to that. Okay, that felt better. Yeah. Mine was looking more like this, and we need more of this. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's all practice. We're still even getting to know this machine.
Well, a couple stutters in there.
Right there at the end. That's like a perfect.
Okay.
The only other thing I'd say is when you end the weld, you actually can kind of go and sit right at the end, just for a half of a second, and then you don't get that crater. But that crater is totally normal. Okay. It's just the end of a weld. You're not putting any in, and it's heating up all around it. So most times you'll kind of just circle back. So I did notice that you were kind of adding a little manipulation. So for thicker pieces, which I'd say 1/8 inch and bigger, you're kind of doing like some circles, really, you know, cursive E's. Yep. It doesn't matter, but with bigger pieces, yeah, you're just not going at a point. You're kind of getting that weld all the way around. So I mean. So from the 80s drug ad commercials, I learned it by watching you, Dad.
Who taught you how to do this stuff? You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
That's what. I don't know why that one stuck in my head, but. Yeah, I was watching what you were doing and I noticed you were doing that same thing. So the idea there is slow it down a little bit more, give it a little more room, surface room to play with in those pools, and then you ideally can do less and less of that as it reaches a consistent temperature. But in my case, heats up like crazy.
Heats up, yeah. Which, like I said, this is all practice. And show that first weld from where we went from. Oh yeah. I couldn't even see it. That's right.
Yeah, it's almost not there.
I couldn't even see it because the settings were so low. There's nothing. That was his very first weld. Right. Yeah, second one, third, kept getting better and better, and then kind of moved over, thicker, wider, yeah. Yep. All right, this is wild. I just, a couple hours ago my original weld looked like garbage, and thanks to Jeff, Mech Master, we end up with certainly no pro, but these are night and day differences from where I started, and I feel like I can actually weld something that's gonna hold, and I'm not gonna be fearing for my life that something's gonna blow apart because of my terrible weld. There are several mistakes that I made and that most newbies make, right?
And so Jeff's got a whole video that we're putting together that you can check out right up here where you can see that. So be sure to check that out to learn how to avoid those mistakes that I've been making, and maybe you have too. I'm Nils with Learn to DIY. Thanks, Jeff, for hosting us today. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming.
We'll catch you on the next one.